10 British family routines from the 50s that wouldn't happen today. If you've ever wondered how everyday life once looked behind Britain's front doors, the 1950s is the perfect place to explore. It was a decade of gentle rhythms, predictable routines, and a homely warmth that shaped a generation. Television was new, houses were smaller, and families lived by habits that feel almost unreal now. In this nostalgic deep dive, we're looking at 10 British family routines from the 50s that wouldn't happen today, revisiting the rituals, mealtimes, and traditions that once held families together in an incredibly different time. 10. The whole family. Gathering around one radio. Before television slipped into every living room, radios ruled the home. Imagine one wooden box in the center of the room, polished, treasured, and treated like a portal to the outside world. There were no headphones, no playlists, no scrolling, just families sitting shoulder to shoulder, listening with complete focus. Even the crackle of the signal felt comforting. Popular shows, like The Archers or Listen with Mother, were shared moments that created a communal hush. Children didn't wander off with tablets or sneak off to their bedrooms. They stayed right there, drawn in by the only source of entertainment. Today's homes have a screen for every mood, and audio is something people usually consume individually. But in the 50s, gathering around the radio was more than entertainment. It was togetherness. It created memories that still feel warm decades later. 9. Mom ironing absolutely everything. Ironing in the 1950s wasn't a quick tidy-up of work shirts. It was practically a weekly endurance test. A typical laundry day ended with piles of clothes stacked high on the dining table, and moms armed with heavy irons powered by cords that never seemed long enough. Pillowcases? Ironed. Tablecloths? Ironed. Linen tea towels? Ironed. School uniforms? Ironed. Some mums even ironed socks because a smooth pair looked proper. With fewer synthetic fabrics, creases stuck like glue, so ironing became a full-blown ritual of pride and presentation. Today's families rarely iron beyond essentials. Modern fabrics barely wrinkle, tumble dryers do half the job, and busy life makes long ironing sessions nearly impossible. The 1950s commitment to crisp linens feels like something from another lifetime, which is exactly why it earns a place on the list of 10 British family routines from the 50s that wouldn't happen today. 8. Set mealtimes with the whole family present. Mealtimes in the 1950s were predictable, structured, and treated almost like appointments. Breakfast was early, dinner was around midday, and tea was served early evening. No one grabbed a snack from the fridge or wandered off with a plate to another room. You ate at the table with everyone else. The rules were simple. No TV on, most homes didn't have one anyway. No arguments. No complaining about the food. No leaving the table until everyone finished. These meals often centered around economical dishes. Pies, stews, bubble and squeak, bread pudding, all made from scratch. Families didn't have the endless choice of ingredients we take for granted today, yet they made the most of what they had and often made it last the week. Nowadays, mealtimes reflect a busy modern lifestyle. Different schedules, shift work, after-school clubs, sports, late-night jobs, and of course, screens everywhere. A family gathering 3 times a day is unheard of. Even one shared meal can be rare. The strict clockwork rhythm of 1950s mealtimes has completely faded away. 7. Children addressing adults with strict formality. If you grew up in the 50s, you likely remember addressing adults with titles, Mrs. Brown, Mr. Wilson, or simply Sir and Ma'am. Children didn't call neighbors by their first names, and speaking casually to older relatives would earn a raised eyebrow or a stern look. Etiquette was drilled in early stand when an adult entered the room. Avoid interrupting grown-ups. Use please and thank you without prompting. Mind your posture at the dinner table. It wasn't about fear. It was about respect, tradition, and formality. Schools reinforced it, neighbors expected it, and parents demanded it. Today's families favor warmth and friendliness. Children often call adults by their first names. Conversations flow freely, and casual communication is encouraged. The old-school politeness of the 1950s would feel overly formal today, but it shaped an entire generation's manners and social habits. 6. Dad controlling the only family car. In the 1950s, car ownership was growing but still far from the norm. And if a household had one, you could bet it belonged to the dad, literally and socially. He drove it, maintained it, and decided when and where it was used. If mom needed to go shopping, she typically walked or took the bus with the children in tow. Cars weren't for spontaneous outings. Every trip was planned. Sunday drives, seaside visits, or special occasions. Many families didn't travel far at all. Life revolved around the neighborhood, local shops, parks, and schools. Compare that with today's Britain. Multiple cars per household, online mapping, spontaneous drives, equal access to transport, and children being chauffeured to countless clubs and events. The rigid, dad-controlled vehicle routine is a definite relic of the past. 5. Weekly bath night, often with shared water. Bath night was a major event, usually once a week, often on Sunday evening, and carefully timed before school the next morning. Without modern heating systems, filling a tub with steamy water required effort and planning. Many homes relied on coal fires or early electric heaters that were slow to warm the water. And yes, siblings often shared the bath water. Oldest first, youngest last. Nobody complained. It was simply what households did when water was precious and boilers were small. Modern families enjoy daily showers, instant hot water, and privacy. Personal hygiene habits are completely different today, and the idea of a weekly shared bath would be unthinkable for most households. This is one of the clearest examples of 10 British family routines from the 50s that wouldn't happen today. 4. Neighbors dropping in without phoning. First. Imagine a friend or neighbor tapping the back door, opening it slightly and saying, "Just popping in. Put the kettle on." That was completely normal in the 1950s. Unplanned visits weren't rude. They were expected. Homes were not pristine showpieces. They were lived in, warm, and always ready for company. People borrowed sugar, swapped recipes, shared newspaper clippings, and delivered news face-to-face, rather than through messages or emails. A spontaneous chat could stretch into hours with no one looking at the clock. Today, most people text first, schedule visits, or avoid popping around entirely. Social interaction is often digital rather than personal. The easy, friendly doorstep culture of the 1950s has mostly disappeared, replaced by structured plans and online conversations. 3. The Sunday roast as a non-negotiable weekly tradition. Few things symbolize post-war Britain more than the Sunday roast. Families would spend half the day preparing it, peeling potatoes, chopping vegetables, mixing gravy, and laying out the best tableware. It wasn't a casual meal. It was the meal of the week. Roasts in the 1950s often included roast beef, chicken, or lamb, Yorkshire pudding, roast potatoes crisped in lard, cabbage or carrots, proper gravy made from the meat juices. Families didn't skip it. The roast was a ritual tied to rest, tradition, and time spent together. Today, while the Sunday roast still exists, it competes with fast food, busy schedules, and weekend commitments. It's no longer a guaranteed weekly anchor in most homes. 2. Children playing outdoors until the streetlights came on. For 1950s children, the neighborhood was a playground. Kids roamed freely into fields, parks, alleys, nearby woods, or simply up and down the street. Skipping ropes, hula hoops, hopscotch, marbles, improvised dens, and imagination filled their days. The rule was simple: be home when the streetlights come on. And they were. Parents trusted the community, older siblings kept an eye out, and the world felt different. Children didn't rely on organized clubs or digital entertainment. They made their own adventures. Today's routine is far more structured. Indoor play, supervised activities, and digital screens dominate childhood. The freedom of the 50s has faded, replaced by a more cautious, planned approach to children's daily lives. 1. The whole family. Sharing one heater in the living room. Most British homes in the 50s were chilly by modern standards. Central heating was rare, insulation was minimal, and windows were often single-glazed. Families relied on one warm spot, the coal fire or electric heater in the living room. Winter evenings meant gathering close, reading, knitting, playing cards, chatting, or simply warming your toes on the hearth. Bedrooms were cold, hallways even colder, and mornings could mean wiping condensation off freezing windows. Today, homes are heated evenly, and people spread out across the house without thinking. The shared heater ritual, so central to family life, belongs firmly to the past. These routines remind us how much Britain has transformed. Life was simpler, slower, and more united around shared rituals. Even though 10 British family routines from the 50s that wouldn't happen today belong to another era, they capture a warmth that still inspires nostalgia and keeps the spirit of that decade alive. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.